Hi, I'm Shelly from BUZZCOCKS.
So, moving back virtually 20 years now, when the band first began.
20 years now.
Can you tell me what the music scene and the atmosphere was like in that period of time?
Well, we didn't really know anything about the music scene. It was like you had to make your own fun rather than rely on anybody else to make it for you. And so forming a band and putting on gigs was the only way of actually making the music or hearing the music that you wanted to hear. So we organised a gig for the Sex Pistols up in Manchester and put our band on to open up, and from that the whole punk rock explosion emerged.
And so what followed on after that?
I don't know. Past 20 years is a long thing to catalogue. We did things like on the White Riot tour. Then we did started doing albums, and then we. Oh wait till you know.
Sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Fucking do it somewhere else. Don't come telling me.
Alright. So, assuming people who get to see this know nothing about punk and know nothing about what's going on this weekend, how would you explain that to them?
I wouldn't try. I'd be wasting my time.
As in what respect?
Well, if they've no idea what's been going on over the past 20 years, and they've no idea, I'd have no point of contact with them. It'd be like we're going in the time machine and going back to the time before the English language was speaking something. Just an impossible task, really, trying to explain. But it's basically about people making music that they enjoy doing.
Okay. So can you tell me sort of how and why you actually got involved in punk rather than any other form of music?
Well, it wasn't a form of music when I got involved in it. It was just an attitude which enabled you to be able to make music, enabled you to do what you wanted to do, whether it be in design clothes or make or design album sleeves or whatever, or even make videos. It was just an attitude of I can do it. I've got the means at my disposal. In the same way that video cameras revolutionised the way that people actually approach making film. The whole idea with punk was that people had the means of production, and so that just led to people being able to be creative and experiment with what they wanted to do. So it didn't start off as being a form of music. It tended to centre around bands who wanted to do fast pop songs, but which was a bit of a reaction to think it wasn't wholly about music. It was about the attitude that it was possible for you to do it without having to have a lot of money and have a lot of fun while doing it. So it was like, let's hold the show right here.
Okay. Alright, so what were your aims and ambitions as a band?
Aims and ambitions? I suppose on our first gig, our main ambition was to get to the end of the set without making too many mistakes.
Did you do it?
I think we did, yeah. It seemed to but capture the public's imagination. At least the people who were there.
How you doing? Slaughter's on, I'm not with him.
So, what can you tell me about your personal outlook on life and how has being involved with a band changed that?
I suppose it's clouded every aspect of my life. I don't know, it's hard to think what I would have done otherwise, because that's a what-if question. I just see the way that things are with me, and it's just what I'm used to doing now.
So, do you think that punk actually changed anything?
Yes, I think it did.
What?
Everything, basically. Made it possible for there to be an independent music scene, independent labels and distribution, even though it's just become a distribution now. Changed the way which it's been so assimilated into everyday life that it's hard to see what it was like. It was like saying, did World War II do anything? I suppose it did, but it's hard to see it's hard to imagine what the world would be like without World War II. Even though you may not be able to, you can't hear the Blitz at the moment. but the repercussions are still going through in the just general attitude. And the fact people are more able to actually express themselves through clothing in a way which was quite unheard of in those days. We had short hair and tight trousers. In the mid-70s, you were seen as being, you could stop traffic, people would walk past and turn around and point, but now, as members of the audience will be able to attest, you can do anything you want to yourself and wear anything you want, or as little or as much as you want.
So, how much did image play a part of punk?
Well, I suppose the main way that people first got the first taste of punk, or first exposure to it, was solely through image. It was so small, a group of people who were first involved in it, that it wouldn't have had even an effect even if they told their best friends and their best friends had told them. So mainly people just read about it in the papers and they made up their own minds about it. So I suppose it became successful, and actually its inevitable decline and transmutation was all due to different images, but rather than it being anything from what was started off. I mean, I think it was more rumour than it. It was a big rumour what happened in the 70s. It was all done with mirrors.
So how much myth is there involved with punk now regarding 20 years ago?
About as much as with Robin Hood, really. The same kind of things, people robbing from the rich to give to the poor. It's hard to separate myth, because some of the myth actually gets believed in the end. It becomes easier just to say, yes, that's what it was like then. It was a very hot summer in '76. I don't know what that had to do with it, but I mean, that is one of the facts that you can. It was when the word drought first started appearing in the British language.
Alright, so there's a lot of different versions and myths and tales of how and where punk came from. To you, where did punk come from?
A little old lady in Dorset sent me a note saying, check this out.
Did you get that much?
I think it came from inside people rather than from outside people. It was the opening of a Pandoras Box. Because the moment you tell people that they can do what they want and they can get away with it, then everybody's like kids in a toy shop, or a sweet shop. And so you just go off and do what you want to do. And out of that comes the effect, which people see as being punk, which is the image, the effect. But really, the punk thing was the actual, they're taking the lid off. And actually going, yeah, you can do it. And it doesn't matter if you can't play it. So because you're having fun, and you're being honest to yourself and to other people in that process. So that's why it was... I mean, that's why it was important for me. Because it allowed me to be able to justify the noise I was making to myself and to others.
Right. So, what did you make of the second wave of punk that came around 80, 81?
Well, I was too busy. I was too busy to actually go and check out the bands. Because the thing is, people usually think because you're in a band, then you know everybody else. But the chances are, I mean, you're off on tour. And so, but when you're playing, all you ever get to see is the support band. That's a lot of good support. But as far as the other waves, then they were, I might have been in a different country. And sometimes I was in a different country, so it's hard really to...
Yeah, well, just give us a call then if you need any help.
To you personally, what's the best thing that punk expressed at this place?
Just give us a call if you need any help.
To you personally, what's the best thing that came out of punk?
The best thing that came out of punk? Besides BUZZCOCKS, of course. I don't know, it seemed like there was a time when it was possible to do things. I think the biggest surprise about punk was that we actually got away with it. And it was actually showing that there isn't a law against doing what you want to do. So I think if it helps anyone to actually find themselves and to have the courage of the convictions, or even to form convictions, I only may have ended up with convictions. Then I think that was a good thing. I mean, I think it was an enfranchising movement. It let people know that they could do it, and they didn't have to go and ask for permission, and there was nobody going to stop them. You know, the chance that you won't get caught.
It's all about the worst thing to come out of punk.
I'm too much of a diplomat.
Not specific bands, but I mean, is there anything bad that really came out?
Well, no. I mean, if you actually have any sentiments for anarchy, then or any affiliations with it, then you know that you've got to let people decide for themselves what's happening. And all the things which happen are just things which were going to happen anyway, except they're framed in a different light. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything which was, besides Sting,
To you, what does punk mean?
It's one of those four-letter words that you can say in polite company these days. In '76, I suppose it was seen as a swear word. I mean, it's funny because there was a lot of discussion at the time by the thinking music journalists about whether or not punk was the right term for it. After a while, punk got ditched, and new wave seemed a better label. It's like all labels, you know, they're stuck on and they're peeled off as well.
Do you think labelling was a big part of punk?
Well, I think labelling's a big part of life, really. I mean, the moment that somebody gets into a box, then they can generalise. I think that's why punk actually broke off into being the new wave. Because there were too many things to try and generalise, and you couldn't make the generalities between like Susan the Banshees and the Pistols and the Clash. Right. Even 13-year-olds like that.
Can you see a future for punk rock now, moving into the 21st century?
It's like I say, there's a future for people. But I mean, it depends what you mean by punk rock. I think it's quite an established form of music. I mean, it's had more interest over the past 20 years than perhaps like rock and roll did in the 70s, which was a similar kind of time period. I mean, it's 40 years since Rock Around the Clock, and but at the time when punk was going, it was the brand new hip sound on the streets. I think it will change. It has changed. The definition has changed. The definition of dance music has changed. In the 40s it was Glenn Miller, and then it changed over to being in the 70s it was John Travolta and the Bee Gees. You know, it's all sorts of manner of delightful nonsense. But I mean, it's still dance. You know, it still seems to be dance music. So I suppose a similar kind of thing happens with punk. You know, people pick up the flag and say, "This is what it is now." And as long as enough people are interested in it, then it will be. I think the turnout here is that there are people who are disaffected and find a common cause, really. We're getting together.
So, how do you feel that there's people come from like the States all over Europe to see this event? And how do you feel that they've come to see you as part of this event?
It makes a change from us actually having to go out there and play to them. But I mean, I suppose it's a holiday as well. Holiday in the sun. It says it's raining today.
He's the guy who Finsbury Park.
Right. So is there anything else you'd like to mention before we wind up?
Telling all security.
No, not really. I just limit self-chance in the question. I mean, I don't have a personal agenda.
It's okay.
Alright, Peter.
That's fine.
Hello.